Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are not surprised if this is the first time you've heard of low-dose naltrexone. The first objective should be to ensure that NHS staff and their patients know the facts about LDN as a treatment for autoimmune diseases, cancers, HIV/AIDS, autism and infertility. We are not here today to tell you that it's impossible for NHS patients to get LDN, because it isn't. However, the decision to prescribe is left entirely with the doctor, who is often ill-informed. To us, this is a serious failure to serve NHS patients, and dealing with this should be our second objective. At the root of both of these issues is a lack of clinical trial evidence. Naltrexone has been out of patent for 25 years. Therefore, we cannot reasonably expect private industry to do the research, as there is no profit motive for them. In our view, the Parliament and NHS in Scotland should fund or co-fund LDN trials, as they would be a sound investment for huge long-term savings. Naltrexone is a 32-year-old drug which has been licensed at more than 10 times the LDN dose for over 24 years. It has been prescribed to pregnant women, and LDN has been used in infertility treatment too. The only test dose that induced any reversible changes in liver enzymes was in excess of 300 milligrams a day. That's 6,666% of this dose that you get LDN in. 100,000 plus patients worldwide are currently taking LDN, and there's growing evidence that it works. There are 80 published papers and 20 clinical trials. In 2007, a Penn State Crohn's study of 17 patients showed that 89% responded, and 67% went into remission, and healing was seen. This is being repeated now on a larger scale. In 2008 in Girone, Italy, 40 primary progressive MS patients were studied for 6 months, and only one progressed their illness. The rest stayed as they were. A survey of over 600 MS patients showed that 94% of patients reported an improvement. This is better than 3 times the response to beta interferon, which costs 30 times what LDN does. That last point is vitally important: cost. Let's talk about some drugs that are in use just now. Tysabri for MS and Crohn's costs £14,730 per patient per year. Mesalazine for Crohn's and ulcerative colitis costs £9,600 per patient per year. Azathioprine for various autoimmune diseases costs £4,435 per patient per year, and all of these drugs have serious side effects. We personally have saved the NHS in Scotland tens if not hundreds of thousands of pounds by taking LDN and not these drugs. Celia here was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2006 and given 6 to 12 months to live. She asked her GP for LDN, and he gave her it, probably because he thought she had nothing to lose. 3 years later, Celia is still here, and her oncologist can see no evidence of disease. With £68 million in chemotherapy costs and 151,000 cancer deaths in the UK a year, shouldn't LDN be the first option for cancer treatment? Privately, LDN costs £300 per patient per year. That's 6% of the cost of the cheapest drug that we talked about. It has been conservatively estimated that the UK NHS could save at least £800 million per year in MS treatment alone. Can you afford to dismiss these huge potential cost savings merely because the private sector has no interest in trials? How would you feel if you learned tomorrow that you, your partner or your child had a chronic autoimmune condition or an incurable cancer? Knowing what you do now, would you not fight for the option of LDN treatment? Or would you prefer to take your chances with the hugely expensive, serious side effect-laden drugs which are currently offered? Today, you can start the journey to ensuring that 5 million Scots know about LDN and do not have to go privately to obtain it. And you have the opportunity to make Scotland the global centre of excellence in LDN research and treatment. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bob. You've seen in earlier, Margaret and Celia, that feel free to come in during the question sessions as well. Okay, can I invite members to opening questions? Okay, Rona.
Clearly, the major problem is that there isn't a licence for LDN at the moment, but it is being used in some cases. Has the government, to your knowledge, said anything in response to this in the past? I mean, it's not a drug that has been on my radar, and it's not something that I've read about in papers.
We have, during the course of, there's been a bit of a campaign of a loose affiliation of people, LDN Now. Today at 4 p.m, there'll be a 13,000 signature petition handed into Downing Street, which is done at the UK level petition system. Dr. Chris Steele from This Morning TV programme is handing that in. Basically, the problem is that LDN isn't very well known, as you say, and I can go to about 12 different people I've dealt with in the NHS, doctors and consultants. Only 2 people had heard of it. One was my own GP who refused to prescribe me it, and the other one was a nurse who had a relation who was taking it for Crohn's disease. So it's a problem of perception and knowledge, yes, that is a big problem. But the basic fundamental problem we all come round to about this is there's not enough trial evidence. And the problem with that is the whole system just now is predicated on the idea that pharmaceutical companies will spend the money doing the trials. But unfortunately, with the drug being out of patent, there's absolutely no benefit in them doing that. And I do not blame them for it. They're in business to make money. So there's no incentive for them to do you a drug that costs £300 a year versus a drug that costs £14,000 a year. The problem is that somebody somewhere has to do these trials, and it's just not happening quick enough for patients. And patients are, like myself and Celia, effectively we're experimenting on ourselves with an unlicensed drug because we cannot contain it through the proper channels, and the doctors won't give you it because it's not licensed. It's already licensed at much higher doses. And as you can see from what we've talked about, there's been no question of safety at all at those high doses. The dose we're talking about is 4.5 milligrams. The doses it's been tested on is up to 300 milligrams, and even then there was very little danger. There's a doctor in Ireland called Dr. Phil Boyle who's been using it in women who are trying to become pregnant and having great success. So that's another issue. There's so many applications that people tend to think it's some kind of wonder drug, and that's where it gets portrayed in the press, frequently in articles. But to be honest, the answer to that is steroids are a wonder drug then, because they deal with lots of different conditions too. We just need to get the trials done and get the evidence out there. And at the moment, what's happening is that you go to a GP, as I'm sure the member will clarify, the GP can prescribe you a drug that is unlicensed, but then there becomes a liability question. There's 50% liability between him and the pharmacist who dispenses it. And quite rightly, a lot of doctors are shy away from that. But again, that's not helping the patient any.
It's
Follow
not
up to that.
Celia.
It's not only that, it's the science of low-dose naltrexone. The doctors were only aware of high-dose naltrexone given to opioid users, drug addicts and so on. But they're not aware of the chemistry of it. So I feel that doesn't help them to make a decision because it's not something they're familiar with. And a lot of doctors like familiarity. And I asked one doctor, I asked my oncologist for LDN when I'd read about it. I'd gone through lots of things and seen lots of things, you know how you do on the internet. And I came across LDN and I looked at it and I looked at the science behind it and I liked what I saw. So I asked my oncologist if he would give me low-dose naltrexone. He couldn't because of protocol. So I went to my GP. The first one said no because she didn't know anything about it. The second one I went to, he said, yes, I'll give it to you because you've got nothing to lose. Because they expected me to be dead in a year at the least, or, the most. And so I started to take LDN, and I've surprised them all because I'm still here, and I'm damn well determined to stay here.
Well done. Well done.
Quite right, absolutely.
Dose naltrexone, and I think it's a public scandal if it's not investigated, and in the meanwhile, the people who are on it stay on it, and the doctors are educated about it now.
And then I think
Yes.
there's a minute as well.
Just very quick. Is it licensed other places in the world? I mean, presumably are people getting it maybe from an enlightened GP